you're at a perfect age to ask the following question. What is traveling? Let's do it from the basic sense. What does a referee look for first?
Like more than two steps?
Even before that, what are they looking for? What are they establishing in their minds, like you are? A pivot foot. Okay, it's got to emanate or base on something. It's a pivot foot. So what they do is they see a pivot foot somewhere. And then based off the pivot foot, they have it in their head that certain X amount of steps will be a travel, certain X amount of steps will not be a travel. But here is the fine line. Referees are, like all of us, human beings. So there may be the letter of the rule versus the spirit of the rule. And as we know, if you watch NBA games and you know that some players get to travel, some players don't get to travel, or some player did and another player didn't. So I oftentimes warn young players, don't worry about the NBA, because players have been traveling and not caught traveling in the NBA for 50 years. Let's work this down to something that's far more useful for you guys. 8th grade. What do they call? What is the purpose? First of all, the purpose of calling a travel, like any other thing in basketball, is to not have someone gain an illegal advantage. What they don't want you to do is gain an advantage by properly or improperly breaking a rule. But let's go with the pivot foot first. The pivot foot, as we all know, is the nail in the toe, and I can pivot until death do me part, although there are 5-second rules. I got to get rid of the ball, things like that. All right, now, first rule of traveling. That pivot foot must stay where? Where it is, on the ground, but it must stay on the ground where it was first contacting the ground. Everybody understand this? Because what would happen if I kept the foot on the ground? It's still my pivot foot. What's that? Traveling. It's still technically my pivot foot. It's still on the ground. Obviously, I can't drill a nail in it anymore because I've just moved my foot. Okay, that's the easy part. This is where it gets fun. All right. My non-pivot foot, my right, I take a step like this. I've lifted my pivot foot off the ground. I'm doing this obviously in super slow motion. So now my right foot hits the ground. I suppose you could call that another pivot foot, maybe. Have I traveled? How many say no? How many say yes? How many don't know? Honest 8th graders, I like this. All right? The pure fact of the matter is I have not traveled. I am allowed to take that step, lift that pivot foot, as it were. However, super slow motion, that left foot, my former pivot foot, still in the air. If that pivot foot comes down for step number 2, what do I have to do with the ball? Pass or dribble. I got to get rid of it. That is the letter of the traveling law. Now, it's not always officiated that way, I understand. But theoretically, if I lift that pivot foot, my left, and I get rid of the ball before I put it down, then I have not traveled. What is the single most popular travel in teenage basketball in this country? I can go to any of your games, any high school game, and see this 5 times a game. Jimmy?
Taking more steps on a layup.
Taking more steps on a layup? No. That's popular, but not the most popular one. Okay, Jack, come up and guard me, but leave your Tootsie Pop at home. Right in front of me, we're pretending we're at this basket. Now, Jack, am I a righty or a lefty?
Righty.
Okay, so you're going to shade me which side? Left. I'm a right-handed player. I want to go right, but this pest Jack is in my way. So if I continue to go right, I'm just going to go over him, which is a foul. So now he's left me one other alternative, which is to go left. This is the single most popular teenage travel in America. I'm here, I jab with my foot, but where is my body weight going? Forward. I see that he's in the way. I don't want to run him over for obvious reasons. So now I want to go to the left, which he has left somewhat open. So where do I now travel?
You pick up your left foot.
Ever see it? Anybody ever done it? Raise your hands. There you go. You know why you do this? Because your body weight at the beginning is too far forward. Jab stepping is a good idea because theoretically he's going to move back when I jab step, theoretically. But even if you move back, my body weight's now so far forward that when I want to switch directions and go this way, I can only really pick up my left foot to prevent myself from falling on my face and breaking my nose. So as the fakes go higher and the body weight's out of control, this is where you get the travels. So how do we prevent traveling? What do we do not to travel? Michael, I think you said it earlier. What do we got to do? Dribble? Well, if we dribble now, some defender who may be quick and talented will probably get in the way. I don't want to dribble right now because I've exposed my dribble. So what do I got to do? Okay, stay low. That's a good one. Stay down. Stay balanced. Another good idea. This is the rip. Someone talked about taking your right foot with you. Is that a travel? No. By the way, anybody know at game speed how many times you have to practice that in order to become really good at it at different progressions of speed? What do you think, Alex? My guess is about 1,500 times. If you think about it, this is pretty hard to do, even for older players who are more coordinated and mature. You're taking your body weight some direction, taking it in another direction. That's hard to do. The NBA guys make it look easy because they've done it thousands of times, and they are very strong, very stable, very coordinated men. You guys are still 13 years old. So here is my suggestion. If you want to become a good change of direction, one-on-one player, and this is just the basic stuff. We're not talking about fall-away jump shots and step backs and all the stuff you guys like to do. I'm just talking about a simple go right, go left, or fake left and go right. Work on this at a very slow pace. Get your footwork down, come back out here, pass the ball, get ready. Just work on the basic components, just so your muscle memory and your memory period gets this into your brain. And then as you get older, get more talented, get stronger, you'll be able to do it at a faster and higher level. This may be the single hardest thing that I teach teenage basketball players. And some of you are saying, oh, all it is fake right and go left, or fake left and go right. But if you think of the forces and the balance and having to move your feet and the ball and getting that stuff all together, this is not easy at all. So don't ever say to yourself, oh, today I'll go practice for 2 minutes on my fake right, go left, or my fake left, go right. You could practice 2 minutes, but I would suggest practicing with your knees bent, very slowly, sort of like we did out here, which will give you an advantage. You've got to learn to crawl before you walk, and you've got to learn to walk before you run. And this is a perfect situation here, where you've really got to learn to crawl first. It will derive great dividends down the road. Not tomorrow, not next week, but maybe a year or two down the road when you're a little bigger and a little stronger, and now you've got proper footwork. And a lot of those other kids, all they have is bodies, but they don't have proper footwork. This would be a great thing for you to learn, and I'm talking about something that's incredibly basic.